It's when you're at your worst is when you're at your strongest. He was messing around, but I think she knew that.
I had to take my pride,
Right.
which I've been accused of having way too big of,
Right.
and I had to knock it down a few notches.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Woman Wednesday, where grown-ass women have grown-ass conversations. I'm Pat.
I'm Lisa.
Let's chat. So, last episode was pretty good.
Yeah.
We were talking about, couples and, just relationships and the deciding factor in when you're to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And what it looks like from a woman's perspective and a male's perspective. And obviously there's more in-depth reasons other than what we shared.
Mm-hmm.
We're just speaking from a personal point of view, as well as, other couples or relationships that we've been privy to learn about, and what, what people decide to do, and also what men do and how they come up with deciding on why they would walk away. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the point of the matter is that they walk away. A decision is made, right? And whenever that decision is made, that means that it's a choice. Right. And who it affects, how it affects, when it affects, like what happens. But at the end of the day, life still has to go on. Because you can't really wallow in that situation, that moment, because then you lose a real great part of yourself, right? So that means that the very thing that one wouldn't want is the ultimate thing that one has to do. And that is just simply just to start over, right? And so I'm not starting over. It could be back with the same person, providing the two of you have done all the necessary steps and whatever that may look like for you guys in that relationship to start over. Because you can start over while, coming out of that relationship. But let's just say ideally, I would say probably I would say I'd put percentage on that, but I don't know 100%. I just know that for the most part, it's never starting over again. Really, it's very slim starting back over with the same person. But if you are to start over again, what does starting over look like? I think that's a question that consumes your mind, even in the process of thinking to walk away. What does it look like if I was to start again? And I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Lisa.
Well, I know what we were looking at, and when we decided what this segment would be called again, I came up with the name.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So forgive me. I said one WoMAN band is what I'm calling this, and the reason being is because when you have made that decision to walk away, so you may have been the one WoMAN band when you were in the relationship, however, that body was still there.
Yeah.
For whatever it is that you needed to communicate to him to do,
right.
That body was still there. Now that body is removed. And now you, and especially if you are single mom,
right.
What does that look like for you? So you're the one woman band, and you are one person doing 10 and more people's jobs. Right? You've got to deal with your kids. You some of you are Uber or bus drivers or whatever, getting the kids to school. You are a 9-to-5 mom, so you've got to work.
Right.
You are coming home from that, you've got to cook. So now you're a chef.
Right.
You've got to clean.
Right.
You've got to make lunches, whether you do it in the night or you do it in the morning. You've got to get them off to bed, right? You got to start that day all over again. And let's add their activities into there. So when the kids them have, depending on how old the children are, you've got to get them to the activities. So you are literally one person doing 10 people's job. Maybe some of you were lucky to have your partner still be there, and maybe he did pick up some of the slack, or he did come and take the kids to school.
That's what should happen, though.
I mean, in a wonderful
world.
In a
perfect world. In a perfect world, right.
Happen. But I would suggest, I'm one of them, a good majority of the single moms that are out there,
right,
we're doing it on their own.
Right.
And not because they just felt they were superwoman and it needed to be done. So it needed to be done. My mom always had this saying that I kind of lived by. You make your bed, you lie in it.
Right.
And that's what I lived by. I made my bed. I decided to be with this person. I decided to have these children. And so I've got to figure it out and do what I got to do to make sure that things are being taken care of.
And I think like right there, just the whole, I mean, I do like what it's, the one woman, because we're identifying a woman and a man in just that word. Ultimately, that's what it's really saying, the woman, right? But I think that's one of the things as a woman, when we're calculating, when we're thinking about the ultimate decision of walking away, that's something that we actually know that for the most part, we know that's what it's going to look like.
Yep.
And as much as we know what things are going to look at, it's different when you're actually playing the role, right? That's the most significant part, because we never really know when you're like, you're going to start a job. Either you're in your mind thinking the job is going to be so hard. Sometimes they can write up these jobs and make them look as though you need to have, you have to be a scientist to figure it out. Really and truly, when you start, it's really kind of like, okay, I can do this. And sometimes it may seem easier. And then when you walk in, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm doing algebra times 3 type of thing. So that being said, when you're now going through it, because it's not just about the kids. It's not just about getting up and cooking. It's not just about spreading beds. It's not just about putting out clothes for school the next day. It's not just about packing lunches. It's not about communicating with the kids. It's not about, there's the financial point of it. All of that takes finances. And if your finances were intact before, you have to understand now your finances are now, especially if you're not getting support by that person who namely created these kids with you. You have to figure everything out. And ultimately, as women, we naturally just know that we have to hustle hard to get what we need to get to make sure things are aligned. And sometimes you could just be surviving by the skin, of your teeth, like it could be just like you're just making just enough to sacrifice, making ends meet. And again, that's the strength of a woman, because we need to be able to know that we can adapt to these things, but it could feel like you're at a loss, And sometimes when you're going through that, what that does is create a sense of emotion. Sometimes those emotions that you've never had to actually see or deal with, but you now realizing that what those things do, it creates another person in you. And I always say this, like, it's when you're at your worst is when you're at your strongest. So in situations like that, brings a strength onto you that you never even knew that you actually owned. But why it, I wouldn't say work, but why we were able to do is because, again, our mindset as women, we just know how to fix things. Like for me, I'm a fixer. I'm a solution person. So I will lay there in my bed or driving in my car, and I just start to think, and I start to calculate, and I start thinking where, whatever, right? Unfortunately, I don't have to think too far out the box, but for me, I had to really pull back and realize what my new norm actually looks like and trying to make sense of it. So then it makes sense, and I knew that I had to do other things that one man was there that was somewhat able to help. I have to be that person, hence why I am that woman, because I'm now chosen to be a single mom and I'm now living that. And it was very hard from the emotional standpoint to the financial point. And now it's a matter of collectively putting everything together. So now everything now seems like it's one under one umbrella, right? So it is very difficult. I fortunately, I don't have young babies. I don't have young kids, but I do still have kids' responsibilities, home, and all of those things that I have to now do on my own.
Even that your kids are big. I mean, I was a single mom from my kids were young,
right,
going into adulthood,
right.
And me and my boys, basically, it was just me and them. They, my left and my right.
Right.
I had to figure things out. I had to figure out, okay, I work 9 to 5. Has soccer, let's say, at whatever time. What does that look like? And I've always been this person where and I think, I guess it's from my mom. You don't want people to know your business. You don't want people to know what's going on with you. So I would just try to get everything done myself. And I never forget this lady at work who told me, she's like, why are you not, like, you need to start speaking with the other soccer moms, get involved with them, because maybe there's one that's close to you where she can take,
because it takes a community,
right? Because I want to work overtime,
right?
And how am I going to work overtime? But got soccer at 6,
right?
How does that work,
right?
So I took her advice, and I end up speaking with this lady. We're there at a game or whatever it may be, and got close to her, speaking with her. Her son and Khalil were like this, and she ended up, literally, it was like she was second mom, sleeping over there. They were in All Stars. She would take them on the weekend. So now I had this extra help, and I was still making sure, like when he had his games, I scheduled myself around there to make sure I'm there for his games.
Right.
But when it came to whether it be picking them up or dropping them off for practice or whatever, I had that help.
Right.
So it was now making that decision as a single mom.
Right.
I want my kids to still have and be able to do certain things. What does that look like for me?
Right.
So I needed to get that help.
But what did you, and that's fantastic, but what did you think was the biggest sacrifice of doing all of that for you?
The biggest sacrifice?
Yeah. What was like?
I had to sacrifice who I was.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. Yeah.
I had to take my pride,
right,
which I've been accused of having way too big of,
right,
and I had to knock it down a few notches in order to say, okay, it's all right to let this person know that you need help.
Right.
And get that help. Because if I didn't, I would suffer. Right.
And that's the thing. If you are because it's not everyone we're not all the same when we are in need. Because some people, it's okay. They're easy to go and say, look, I need some help. And where that help is coming from, whatever areas, it's people like ourselves. Like, you and I are very similar, alike. We know that. Mm-hmm. And starting over, for me, I had to really start over first up here. Mm-hmm. And for starting over for me is being able to let go of some things and to find a way back to it. Mm-hmm. Right? That's my consensus, because I'm still trying to hold on to that life of thinking that I do have someone there, and I'm realizing more and more. And that's when I was failing in my mind, because I'm realizing more and more that I don't. And the biggest thing that I learned is that I had to only rely on myself. I think that's the biggest learn. So when you're starting over, you have to start over knowing that, yes, it does take a village to raise a child, right? But it's crazy when you're that person that won't allow the village to do that, because you're so full of pride and you feel like you can do everything on your own and you don't need any help or whatever the case may be.
I know for me, it was just that I don't like people having anything over me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I needed to let go.
And that's what you have to let go, because at the end of the day, starting over means that you need to be vulnerable.
And that's hard.
Yes.
Because you're already dealing with the fact of this failing relationship.
Yes. Okay? So how do you show up?
Here now.
Yeah.
And now now people need to know that. So now the soccer mom or the teachers or the whoever is going to know, okay, now that parent, other half of that household is no longer
But that's
there.
owning your truth.
Yes. But how do you get there? Well, how do you get to owning your truth? Because you for me, failure is all I saw. Right. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm a failure. This didn't work out because of me. So we talked about this in the last segment, the fact that you start blaming yourself and you start wondering to yourself, where did I go wrong? What did I do?
Right.
What should I have done? Now my kids don't have their father here. So you go through all these different things in your head. And while you're going through these different things in your head, now you're trying to compute getting other people involved.
Mind you, that's one scenario. That's one way of looking at it. What did I do wrong? What did I, whatever.
majority of the
Most
women,
of the time.
that's what
Right.
we do. We blame ourselves. We do look at where did I go wrong? Because again, you don't enter into a relationship, and I touched on that again last time. You don't enter into a relationship with the end in mind. You don't start thinking that, oh, it's not gonna work out. You're thinking when you enter that relationship, this is my end. This is my person. This is who I'm gonna be with for however long.
And that's so crazy because in saying that, we think about the sacrifices of the things that we've done. Right. I mean, not to share too much of, but we've sacrificed a lot of ourselves. And, it could be like 6 couples sitting there. We never know who's going to last. No. You never know. So we all trot along thinking that we're all in the same place, and we're doing what we have to do. And guess what? Yeah. But then that day would come where things just change. Right. And that's where the whole thing, starting over, means to change, and being okay with the change, because that's how do you pivot. And how do you pivot? Right. So now I have to pivot. I was doing it this way. Now I have to pivot and I got to go this way. Now, how do I do that? So all of that became a learning for me again, because I had to learn how to count on others to help me. I had to learn how to, you know what I mean? So there were these different learnings, which we all, they always say to you, every day is a learning day. As long as you're 6 feet above the ground, you're learning every day. And in that scenario, I had to learn how to do things on my own, like maybe put a picture up. You know what I mean? Or if I didn't put a picture, if I didn't know how to do it, or take, for instance, my car. He would normally be the one to, whether he looked about it or he brought it to the mechanic or whatever. Okay, so now that's on me. So now I need to know, when does the oil need to be changed? You know what I mean? All these different little things that you now have to learn now that you are on your own. I think there's a scenario. You were there. I'm not going to call names, but we followed a friend, her child's father. Okay. And we followed her. He was messing around, but I think she knew that. And we followed her to where he was with this new. I am not a mix-up. We followed the friend. I probably didn't know where we were going. We followed the friend. I don't know why I followed. I'm not calling names, but we followed the friend. And the reason I'm leading up to this is, I remember when we went there and she was knocking on the door, and he wouldn't answer, nor the person that was inside wouldn't answer. And we were outside. I think there's a point where we're like, what the fuck? What are we doing? Oh no, I was outside. We were like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? But the saddest, start the car is where I was. I was just like, but I'm the getaway friend. So I remember, but it was, you know what? It was one of the saddest moments, because I remember her saying, because she knew that was it. Mm-hmm. Because he's now over here with someone else, going back to where we talked about men walking away, and ultimately sometimes it's because there's someone else there. Mm-hmm. And they feel like the grass is greener on the other side, when in fact it's not. It never is, right? That person just giving you some temporary fulfillment in that moment. But the one thing I remember her saying, and we're speaking about starting over, is when she said, what am I supposed to do now? What am I supposed to do? Don't you remember? No. What am I supposed to do now? Whatever the name is. I feel like I was doing a lot of laughing. No, but I'm not. Okay, let's take away the laugh. Let's take it away. But I'm just saying, it was just sad to hear her say that, because it sounded like a woman that was fearful that she now has to start all over again, and that she was dependent on this person. You have to start something new, whether it be starting a new job, it's the fear of the unknown. Yes. Right. Yes. So it is the fear of the unknown. When you have to start all over again, and you've got children added to that equation, the fear of the unknown sets in, and you have choices to make. Are you going to let that fear take you over, or are you going to move? Well, Newman, okay, but I definitely so. But naturally, When you have a mindset that you're also reliant on that person and you're not an independent person naturally, and you're literally craving that person as a resource to whatever, yes, the fear of the unknown is very severe. But when you have an independent mindset and a person that knows how to change a lock on your own, put up a TV on your own, do certain things on your own, eventually that emotion is probably, it may feel whatever.
The fear of the unknown is always there.
I know.
Whether you're a person that's dependent or independent, you have now changed into something that you have no idea what you're going into. So that fear of unknown is always there. But the difference between the two people are, one chooses to pivot and figure it out,
and the other ones keep stuck.
And the one that is dependent and does not know where to go either is still trying to get that person back,
right,
or is stuck in whatever realm they're stuck into.
Because I was always an independent person.
I've like, in my relationship,
if I asked my husband at the time, can you move this television because now we have a new one? Can you move it? Whatever. And a few days go by, maybe a week, probably even 2 weeks.
Hell, I remember not even the television. I remember you, and I believe it was you guys moved.
The dresser?
Was it a dresser?
Yeah.
Yourselves.
Because I'm that determined. And I moved it.
And you and moved it. I remember. I specifically remember that.
Yeah.
So I exactly you've
because I will cut the grass. Mm-hmm. I'll go buy my own lawnmower. Mm-hmm. I'll cut my own grass. I'll put up my own picture. I am that woman.
Right.
Because that's who I am.
So that, again, coming back to the fact of you are one person, one woman, doing 10 people's jobs. So you cut the grass. You moved probably even more than just
of course.
Right. When I moved into my house, I remember we went, I can't remember, whichever store we went to, me and you, and we got couches.
Uh-huh. And we moved it in on our own.
Two of us moved those 2 couches we moved the 2 old ones out and moved the 2 new ones in.
Right.
And we got scratch on the floor, on the hardwood floor. We got scratch on ourselves. We did what?
But we did it. But we did it in the end.
I didn't call no man. Not to say I didn't have one to call. I had, but I didn't call no man. I called my friend, and we went to the store. We got it because we didn't have it delivered. And right. We went and we got it and we moved it ourselves.
That was the independent side of us. Yeah.
Right.
That was the independent side of us. So I guess what we are saying is starting over is definitely indeed fearful. Mm-hmm. Because again, there's parts of that relationship that the other side actually handled. Mm-hmm. But now that they're no longer present, and again, this could be for man or woman.
Well, it's about women right now.
Right.
We're okay to talk about women.
So again,
Yeah.
But
we don't need to be sorry.
It's when you're in the moment of realizing that this was not your job to do, but now you have to take it on. Mm-hmm. And it may feel weird, at first, because it's, again, a new added task to you with all the other things that you have to do. But like anything else, it just becomes a part of your normal day, your normal routine until. So
now let me ask, because I'm thinking back again to myself, where do you find room for yourself? Where do you find?
I was going to say that earlier. Like, where do you fit into this?
Where do you now fit in? Because you're a one-woman band, one-woman band. And you've got all these,
but you can't, not right away.
Where do you find time?
You can't, not right away.
And I did not find time.
You can't. There's no way.
The only thing I can possibly say, and you know this, I always had to have my nails done, and I think I never played around with my hair. Like my hair, I always went to the hairdresser because I don't do my own hair. So
right.
I don't do my own hair
unless I did it.
Yeah, well,
another part of my jack of all trades here.
Yeah. So those are the things that those were my must-haves, were my nails and my hair. But other than that, it's not until my boys were grown, and again, that took other friends, that took me sitting down, probably talking to you, I believe, basically saying, like, where's your time for you? You need to start doing things for you. So my mindset, even though my boys were grown, was, I finished work, I gotta come home, I gotta make sure that they have something to eat. They're grown, they got two hands. Why am I still now doing that? That's an automatic for me. And I had to learn that I needed to take time out for myself, whether it be for the gym, whether it be for going and getting a massage, whether it be just going and having a spa day. Those things, guys, I cannot say it enough. They're necessary. You owe it to yourself. You need, because if you're not, and that's one big thing I learned, if you yourself are not well from the inside out, if you're not whole, you can't be there for anybody else.
You can't.
You can't give. You can't take from your pie that's barely there, and give to other people, because you deplete yourself completely. And I know for a fact that there were days when I was depleted, like done, had no idea what to do with myself. So it's very, very key.
Well, I think for me, because I've been in the same relationship for more than for a very long time, and again, everything's a learn. Because you can't show the learn for me is you have to be just the same way you were strategic in walking away and making that decision. You have to now turn that on yourself now. And what does that look like? It's like you're literally revamping. You have to come out that you have to realize that, at least for me, not shut doors, but I had to choose myself. And choosing myself means that I have to focus on me. And it may warrant you losing people around you, but if there's people who are genuinely around you, that's meaningful for you, or that's really there for you, they will understand, right? And I've never had a big circle of people anyways, regardless. So it was kind of easy for me. But what going back to when you're talking about the soccer mom and the whole thing, I had to also be that person where I had to know that I need to reach out for help in various things, especially in my career, and just having that reassurance and just narrowing down even your circle smaller than what it really was at the time, because focusing on yourself is a major thing, major thing. You feel strength within yourself when you do that. And just me, my focus for myself is one of my hobbies is getting up and going to the gym,
Look at you.
No, hands down, I'll get up. If I wake up at 4 a.m, I will, and I can't go to sleep, I'll go to the gym. I make sure that I insert that, right? Again, I don't have young kids. I don't have to pack lunches. I don't have to do all those things, but I still have to be there for my kids. I still have to show up because my kids, we're very close. So they call me and want my attention for everything. And I have to be mentally sound to be able to provide that. But how was that? How did I do that? I remember one day I just told myself, get up. It's time. You got to do what you got to do. And there's a thing that I remember driving the other day, and I don't know if it's applicable right now, but I can't control what I can't see, but I can control what I can see. And what I can control is me, because that is ultimately the one thing that I can see, and my decisions I make for myself, how I move, what I do, you understand me? How I live my life moving forward from this point on, because why not, right? So now I'm starting all over. We had a woman conference that I was sponsoring the other day, and one of the ladies said in their speech, "It's okay to start over. It doesn't matter at what point you start over. You have the ability to start over. The greatest people that are out there, they failed over and over and over again until they started over, and then eventually something catches."
That's it.
Right? So from a relational standpoint, it could mean a lot. That starting over is you actually looking at yourself and saying you're okay with where you are.
Yeah.
It's been a journey, but you've survived it. A close friend of mine, again, I'm only quoting what I've seen and what people tell me. A close friend of mine, close, like a realtor friend. I'm a real estate agent. And she said, you know what? Sit back and look at all the things you've most recently accomplished. Have you done that? Because you've done so much already on your own. And you should be actually patting yourself on the back. And I never thought about that. And it was actually just simple as that, as well as other insight that I've gotten from other people, was something that told me, you know what? She's right. You know, she's right. The sacrifice is real, but the sacrifice will pay out in the end, right? And for a woman that's a single mom, it seems dreadful. It seems fearful, especially if the person is not who, again, is the father and should be there doing their part, and they're not. You still have to carry on. You still have to survive. You still have to stand strong.
No doubt. You have to dig deep, and you have to keep moving. You can't wallow. You have to
no
dig
choice.
deep, because it's not just about you anymore.
No.
Right? So again, when you're that single mom, it's not about you anymore. You have these other in my case, 4 eyes looking up at you, looking to you till now. They're 25 and 30. They look at me. And when they still, when they want my attention, they want my attention. I have to stop what I'm doing, and I have to listen. That ear needs to be there. That shoulder needs to be there. So you've got to keep on moving. You can't. You've got way too much to, I would even say, lose, to just wallow in that.
And that wallowing, which is i.e. called stress, will end up taking you, killing you, right? Time. It's affecting you in a way. And that's not something that you want to do, because why would you? If you made such a big decision to make this decision, then you have to know that you're going to have to hold on strong. And even if it wasn't you and it was the other person, you still have to be that strong person. You still have to pick up from where you were left and move on. Right? But
so you're that one woman band. If you're out there and you're that single mom doing 10, 15, 20 people's jobs, trust me, you're not alone, that's for sure. And you know what? Take time. If there's nothing else that I want to make sure that is clear, take time out for yourself. The two of us, whether it was on my end or whether it was on your end, just sitting and talking to you,
that alone is a healing.
What?
Yeah.
I
that
was
alone is a
able
healing.
to release.
Yeah.
And whether it be because we laugh something stupid any which way, about the stupidest thing or whatever it may be, but just being able to sit down and talk to your girl and reason things out and see something from a different person's perspective, it is so enlightening. It is so, I say enlightening and lightening, meaning it takes that heavy off of you for that time being. So whatever it is you need, please do it, because you are no good to anybody if you're not good to yourself.
It's okay to fail. Yep. That's what we do. That's where we learn.
Yep.
And it's okay to start over.
Yep.
Change is supposed to be uncomfortable, because if the changes feels the same as it did before, then you didn't change. So you have to embrace that change and make that change work for you and your new me, right? So with that being said, thank you once again for tuning in to Woman Wednesday. Again, we're not counselors. I don't want anyone to misconstrue what we are saying. Or what we're speaking on. We're only speaking from a general perspective and things that we've experienced and what we've seen others experience, namely close people in and around our circle, or just conversations that we've heard. But the greatest thing is, this is not from a sympathetic.
I gotta cut you.
What happened?
The other thing that you need to do, I don't know if you're that person, travel.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Listen, I was at last year alone. I think I traveled like 4 times.
Listen, I don't need no Louis. I don't need those are all great if somebody wants to buy for me, but I don't need that. I just need to be up and out of here. And I know for a fact that when I get up and out of here, wherever I am, when I have somebody else making up my bed for me, I have somebody else cooking my meals for me, I have somebody, I don't know, it would just be great if somebody would bathe me too. But just, you have all.
Okay, you're not there yet.
No.
Okay.
They do it in Africa.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Right? So somebody should be able to bathe me.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So
let's go.
Anyway, so to have somebody else taking care of your need, it is the greatest feeling. So I'm just saying, travel is a big thing.
And let's just say this though. So yes, traveling is ideally, it's great if you can afford it. But if you can't even afford to get up and jump on a plane, just simply going away for a weekend.
Yes.
Just rent an Airbnb.
Yes.
And just go away for that weekend. Treat yourself. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Go for a long.
When things start to go a little bit sour for you, we did the what's it called? Go Place.
What's that one?
Go Place Spa.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you guys some business here.
Yeah.
So Go Place Spa. We did that.
Yeah. That was the start of.
That was just a day, and that was a good. I mean, we got lost in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we were in there for 6 hours.
Yeah. You know what? But the time I didn't notice the time. But that's also a means to. I'll help you to start again. You're allowed to start again.
Yes.
It's okay. It's okay, like I said, to fail. It's okay. It's you embrace it because failure is a good thing. It allows you to rewire yourself and for you to start over. And how you do that is by looking at what didn't go right, what was wrong, what happened, and then you make. It's just simple as if you wrote a test and the teacher says, you know what, I'll give you the ability to rewrite the test, and you just go back and you know what were the areas that you failed, but now you're going to correct it.
And I wouldn't even say fail. I would say it's okay that you made mistakes.
Yeah.
And you have the ability, you're still alive.
Yeah.
Get in there, fight and correct it and do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You're not a failure. You're human. And we do make mistakes.
It's okay.
And as long as our eyes are open and
as long as we're breathing,
ground,
you
get in there and you just keep on fighting.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. So thank you once again for tuning in. My wrap up will always look and sound differently because it's just winging it. This ain't no practice shit.
Yeah, go ahead.
But thank you so much for tuning in. Today's episode is a one-woman band being the man and the woman and what that may look like. So with that being said, thank you once again for watching Woman to Woman. I'm Pat.
Lisa.
Thank you, and we'll see you again. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.
I touch that 5 for you. I do that 3 times again. I testify for you. I told her like you, that bitch, I do it all.